back on the record. The parties are present along with plaintiff's counsel. Your next witness.
John Urich, Your Honor.
Please raise your right hand. You do solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this act shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your full name for the record and spell your last name.
John Leonard Urich, Y-U-R-I-K.
All right, may I proceed, Your Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Urich, can you tell us where you reside at the present time? How long have you resided there?
2 years.
And is that a property that you own or rent?
Rent.
If we look at Exhibit 18, can you review that and tell us if you can identify that for the court?
It's a 45-day rent increase from my landlord.
And does that reflect the Katy Avenue property?
Yes.
What do you pay in rent there at the present time?
$1,600 a month plus trash of $35, so $1,635 a month.
So presently, are you in a month-to-month, or does it have a
Yes,
fixed term?
presently I'm on a month-to-month.
Move for admission of Exhibit 18, Your Honor.
Admitted.
Who resides there with you?
My 4 kids.
And you have how many bedrooms there?
There's 4 bedrooms and a loft that's kind of a bedroom, just an open doorway.
What's your date of birth?
4/27/58.
And so right now you're 59 years old, my math's correct?
Yes.
Presently married to the defendant seated to my left, correct?
Correct.
You and she had 3 children together?
Yes.
Did you also adopt her son, Mikey?
Yes.
And does Mikey live with you at the present time?
Yes.
What is the extent of your education?
Bachelor's degree in accounting from Northern Colorado.
When did you get that degree?
1981.
What is your occupation?
I am a general manager of a sign company owned by my mother.
What has been your work history as an adult?
Since moving to Las Vegas in 1988, I've been in the sign industry. Prior to that, I held a couple different accounting positions with real estate developers.
Do you work from an office or your home?
My home.
Do you recall the date you and the defendant were married?
Yes.
What's the date of marriage?
August 30th, 2003,
Where were you married?
St. Joseph's Church in Las Vegas.
How was your relationship at the beginning of the marriage?
Great. We got along fine. We were friends for a while before we got married. Had a lot of interest in common. I was told by her she wanted a family and children like I did.
Did there come a point in time in the marriage where the relationship began to change?
Yes.
When was that?
Approximately 2009, when The business and most businesses were struggling due to the recession, the Great Recession, if you will. Money was tight. She wanted to go out and party.
Objection.
Grounds.
She wanted to go out and party. How does how does he know what I wanted to do?
She started going out with a couple girlfriends, actually going to my ex-wife's house and parties they were having. I didn't want to socialize with my ex-girlfriend and was confused that she even wanted to. Not ex-girlfriend, ex-wife, and was confused she even wanted to.
Well, you told us about the business being affected by the recession. What business was that?
Science West Incorporated.
Is that a different business from the business that you presently work for?
Yes.
Science West Incorporated was owned by who?
It was owned by Uric Industries, a limited partnership. That was in turn owned by the Uric Family Trust, which were my parents.
What happened to Science West Inc.?
As we were struggling, we took on an investor from Phoenix to come up. He put $300,000 into the business. He turned out to be a crook and was getting money from Russia. One thing led to another. We survived for about 6 to 8 months. They weren't paying the IRS taxes, 941 taxes, and the IRS eventually closed us down and forced us into well, we were in bankruptcy 11, and they forced us to 7.
At its most productive point during the marriage, how many people did Science West Inc. employ?
During the marriage,
Right.
approximately 70, maybe, give or take.
And what type of gross sales would the business generate?
10 to 12 million a year.
When the business ended, how many people was it employing?
15-ish, 20 maybe.
Your mother testified to some repossession of trucks. Do you recall that occurring?
Yes.
Was that from Science West Inc.?
Yes.
What type of vehicles were repossessed?
285-foot boom trucks that they had guaranteed the loans on.
When were they repossessed?
2009.
When the business ended, what type of sales was it generating then?
When it ended, not much. Maybe 100,000 a month. About $1 million a year, maybe, a little less.
Was that enough to pay the expenses of the business?
Not the way they were running it, they being the investors from Phoenix, and in the investment agreement, my brother and I were to remain out of the day-to-day operations. And in hindsight, it appears their main agenda was to steal, if you will, our assets and our website. They didn't really want the business to succeed, and our employees.
Did drug use become an issue in the course of your marriage to the defendant?
Yes.
When did that become an issue?
As far as firsthand knowledge and seeing her use meth, maybe 2008 to 2010-ish.
That concern you?
Yes. She said she needed it to lose weight, and she doesn't do it that often.
Was there any other concerns regarding drug use during the course of the marriage?
And I suspected she was doing meth for the entire year of 2014 and 2015 prior to her abandoning the family.
What led you to that suspicion?
I seen her do it.
Objection.
Grounds.
I've already taken a drug test and proven that these allegations are false.
You took one in 2015?
I took one with this court and took a hair and urine sample when he was alleging that I was doing drugs that entire time.
He said in 2014 and 2015 he suspected you were using meth. I did not drug test you during those years.
I've already shown that he's falsely accused me of this.
Overruled.
What led to your suspicions in 2014, 2015?
I saw it. She bought it. I saw it. It came in little baggies. She had a metal cigar box about yay big that had a pipe in it and all kinds of paraphernalia for smoking meth.
Did her demeanor change after you married?
After we were married?
Yes.
Well, it changed over time, but the first 6, 7 years, I mean, she had issues, but for the most part, we got along great.
What happened after the first 6 or 7 years?
She started getting a lot more angry, wanting to go out more, seemed to have a hair trigger temper.
Grounds?
I don't know, but it doesn't seem like he should be able to comment on what he thinks I was doing when I wasn't, what he thinks I was or wasn't doing.
He's testifying from his own personal knowledge.
Okay.
He's not guessing.
Okay.
Overruled.
Did that change in demeanor have any effect on the children from what you could observe?
Yeah, I mean, at that time, the kids from our blood were very young. Mikey, the older one now, who's 20, at that time was yelled at a lot, belittled a lot, and I kept telling her she has to stop doing that. You can't keep calling him an idiot and belittling him and yelling at him. And she would raise her voice almost every day, and the F word was used almost every other sentence out of her mouth.
How would you describe, from your observations, Mikey's relationship with his mother at the present time?
Hardly any relationship. He was invited to have, his birthday was just the 27th of July, and I offered to take him to dinner, and he goes, well, I already got plans with Mom and Gilby. They're taking me to dinner. And I go, okay, well, just come over the next day. And then later he said they had canceled on him.
And when I ask my questions, it's not my intent to have you tell what other people said, okay? What is your belief as far as the court has to make a decision on custody of the children, the 3 youngest children? What do you believe is in their best interest for the court to do?
For me to have full physical and legal custody of the children.
And so are you requesting sole legal custody of the children?
Yes.
And by that, do you have any objection to the defendant having access to the children's school, medical records, things like that?
No.
But do you have an objection to her making decisions about the children?
Yes.
And why do you object to that?
The most decisions about the children are what is in her best interest, not the children's best interest.
Historically, can you think of any decisions that Elena has made concerning the children that you believe were not good decisions for the children?
Yes, quite a few. I'm going to be all over the map, just as I recall. In homeschooling Jordan, I office at home, so I would be in my office, and almost every day when she was homeschooling, they would yell at each other, scream at each other. Jordan would cry. I would have to go down there and break it up and talk to Elena and explain to her that that's not very conducive to a child learning by yelling at her and scaring her. I've seen her slap her a couple times. And I would separate them and tell Jordan to go to a room and cool off for 10 minutes, and then they went about their homeschooling. But it was almost every day yelling. And I'd tell him this should be fun. You're teaching your daughter. You should enjoy this. But it never seemed to be that way. She does favor Jordan over the two boys. Prior to me filing for divorce in August, she had Jordan in her possession from January through August, approximately 7 months, while she couch hopped at different men's places or strippers' homes in LA.
Objection. He doesn't know what I was doing or where I was living or anything like that.
Yeah, I actually do.
Objection. He has no proof of that. And he does not know anything.
The court will.
January to August of 2016?
Yes.
Okay, what was your personal knowledge about her living situation?
Well, initially, when she left the family on Christmas, December 15.
Objection. He has not proven that I left then, nor I did not leave then.
Overruled.
Well, whenever she left the family, late 2015, early 2016, she was living with a David Cooper, whom...
Objection.
Grounds?
It's not true, but why does he think that? He has no evidence, or that never happened.
You'll be able to cross-examine him.
Okay.
You live with David Cooper. Go ahead.
And his two girlfriends, if you will. He is a known swinger, sex club operator, big in the sex industry. And she took my daughter there often. She then, my point being, she exposed my daughter for 7 months to different men and left my daughter with different families to stay at while she did who knows what. I'm assuming dancing, partying, going out with different men. She always preached to me how it's easy.
Is he allowed to just assume things?
You'll have an opportunity to cross-examine him.
I feel, for lack of a better word, my daughter was brainwashed during those 7 months to that dad was bad, that dad would hurt mom or her. My daughter was instructed to lock her car door anytime dad was near the car. My daughter believed I did not give her or my wife any financial money during those 7 months, which isn't true.
John, you've given us a lot there. Let me break it down a little bit, if I can. First of all, what were the circumstances of you and the defendant separating?
I still don't know, other than she just told me she didn't want to be a mom anymore, never wanted kids. She only had kids because I wanted kids, and she wanted to be single again and go party. She told me that early January, late December of 2015.
What happened after she told you that?
I was floored that she even said that about the kids, but she did. I've asked her numerous times after that, why do you want a divorce? Why don't you want to be with our family anymore? And I never got an answer.
And one of the things that we talked about this morning was the question of using the children to communicate as opposed to communicating with one another. We asked your wife about a trip to the beach. Do you recall that particular trip? And can you tell us, do you remember it differently than your wife remembered it?
Yeah, a little bit. She did take him to the beach. I agreed to that. I don't recall who asked. Usually the kids ask.
And what happened when she took him to the beach?
They left that morning, and later that evening, approximately sometime between 4 and 7 p.m., Luke, the 13-year-old, who's 13 now, called me and asked if I could get them a motel for the night. And I said, why, doesn't your mom have a place for you guys to stay? And I can't remember exactly everything, but I ended up getting them a motel.
Is that an unusual occurrence where the children communicate to you?
Oh, it's a standard occurrence. I keep asking. Whenever I text her, she doesn't respond. She'll respond 1 out of 15 times. If it's something in it for her, she'll respond. She never answers the phone when I call her.
Any other examples you can relate for the court as to questionable decision-making of the defendant concerning the children?
So thusly, after those 7 months, she had Jordan in her full control. When I got Jordan back, she was not the girl I knew. She was terrified of me. She was rude, disrespectful, selfish, spoiled, acted privileged. Her hair was bleached blonde, which is dangerous to do to a child, let alone an adult. She felt the only reason she had any career at all was because of Mom. Not that the career is all important here, but she believed she had a dance career and an acting career only because of Mom. And I've continually told her that's not true, that it's because of her.
How's your relationship with Jordan now?
Greatly different.
How's it changed?
I feel like a family with her again. She trusts me. She loves her brothers. She was very distant from her brothers and I when I got her back last August. We do things together. She actually wants her brothers to come to things that she does. She wants to spend time with us. We all trust each other. We play games together.
You say she was rude when she came back in your care and custody. In what respects?
She was rude to her brother. She was rude to me. If I asked her to do something, she wouldn't do it. She would ignore me. And it was difficult for me for the first few months because, you know, I'm not an expert. I didn't know how best to get her out of that because Mom was still texting her and calling her and talking to her.
Do you have concerns that your testimony here today about the children or testimony given by your mother might be related back to the children?
Oh, I know it will be.
And that would concern you?
In a negative light, yes, it concerns me. Every time the kids are with her, I'm concerned and worried.
Would you want the court to make a specific order that you and the defendant not discuss what's been testified to here with the children?
Definitely. And I would like to be able to communicate and co-parent with her should the court deem she should see the kids, by able to communicate with her. She ignores my texts, ignores my phone calls. The kids always are in between us for the last 4 or 5 months.
Now, you said you're concerned about the children being exposed to what's going on in court. Has that concern been realized since this case began? In other words, have things occurred which lead you to believe they may be exposed to the...
The kids believed that I threw Mom out of the house, especially Jordan, the daughter. They believed I threw Mom out of the house, changed the locks, didn't give her any money, would beat her physically, or
Did any of that happen?
No, none of that happened. That I bribed the court, that I got lucky and got a judge that hates women, that there's other things, I just can't think of everything off the top of my head, but especially to Jordan.
Now, let's talk about the physical custody. You want primary physical custody. Why do you believe that's in the best interest of the kids?
Because I look out for the best kids, the best interests of the kids and their needs is my paramount goal. I don't go out and party. I don't have a girlfriend. I'm working just for the kids and to take care of them. They're in a stable environment. We're a family now. They have their own rooms. They have friends in the neighborhood that they hang out with. They go to the schools in that neighborhood. They enjoy those schools.
Now, the court has to address what they call the best interest factors, so I'm going to go through those with you a little bit. What weight do you believe the children's wishes should be given by the court in making its decision on custody?
Like my kids' opinion on what they would want?
Are they old enough and mature enough to really weigh in on those things?
I think they're mature enough. They're mature beyond their years. But I don't think they have all the facts.
And
personally, I don't think they could make the best decision they could without all the facts.
Is there certain facts that they're not privy to that you think weigh on what should be considered
Yes,
in their custody?
mom's behavior, mom's role model skills, mom's just weigh what she does for a living, what the kids' needs aren't paramount to her. Her needs are paramount to Elena, not the kids.
Now,
Kids don't know that. They don't believe that. They love their mom. They just love, love's blind sometimes.
you took the code class,
Yes,
and what did you learn, if anything, from that?
I learned quite a bit. I mean, I thought I was doing good, but there's things I did know. But, I didn't know I should talk to my kids and give them permission to let me know they're stressed out, which was a huge thing I learned. I also learned that Elena's doing basically the opposite of everything that code class says.
Such as?
She does not communicate with me directly. She communicates through the kids almost always now. My kids tell me when she's showing up on Sunday. My kids call me and ask if they can stay longer. I'll text Elena and say, hey, Johnny has a football game at noon on Sunday. You can pick him up at 1 o'clock after his game, or I can bring him to you. What would you like to do? I get no response. In fact, one of the days, she showed up at noon with the cops, and she knew. She just showed up with the cops just to have drama.
When was that?
That was actually when my folks were here. I was at the football game, and she showed up at noon with the police demanding her kids, and my mom instructed them that they're at Johnny's football game. And I don't know the rest of the details, but
Has defendant gone to any of the boys' football games?
no, none. Doesn't go to any of their sporting events. Zero. The only one she came to was April of 2016, and she grabbed Johnny physically and would not let him go and said she's taking Johnny with him, and Johnny was crying, freaking out, flailing, trying to escape from mom, and I begged her to just let him go, but she wouldn't. Adults had to step in and the police were called. That was the only sporting event she came to either of the boys' in the last 2 years, year and a half.
Do you try to promote the children's relationship with their mother?
Yes.
What do you do?
Originally, when the court said she could have him on Sunday, neither boy wanted to go, which I know she's not going to believe, but neither boy wanted to go, and I encouraged them that, she's your mom, and the court ruled that, and you guys should just go and make the best of it. Today, I believe they do want to go, but then they did not. Mostly because she never saw the boys. She had Jordan for the 7 months from January till August of 2016 under her control, never bothered to see the boys in those 7 months. Then, when I got full custody where she had to ask my permission to see them, she didn't see him much at all then either.
We talked about this morning a development that you allowed defendant to take Jordan down for an audition that got canceled. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And can you tell the court what happened in that regard?
Jordan needs new headshots. Her headshots are 2 years old. Headshots are photographs used for agents and casting to look at a headshot. Jordan asked me to let her mom take her because her mom's good at that, and I'll concede that. She is very good at style, graphics, creativity, what looks good. And so I agreed. I let her into my house so they could pick out some clothes, and she also had an audition that Monday, and the photo shoot was that Monday as well. I think there was a dance audition Sunday. I can't remember exactly. There were 3 things. I had to go to a football game with my sons. When I came back, I noticed my mobile hard drive was gone, that she had stolen it while I allowed her into the house to just pick out clothes. I texted her about it, and she goes, yeah, it's community property, that's my hard drive. And I go, no, that's not your hard drive. I just got my hard drive recovered and transferred to that mobile drive, which has all my designs on it for signage. I need that so I can sell signs. And she proceeded to laugh and whatever, send me LOLs and stuff. I later texted her the receipt, and she did return it a week later. I don't know why, miraculously. I never thought I'd see it again. But in the interim, I then was informed that the audition was canceled. So I texted her, you don't need to go to California. The audition's canceled. The best she could have been, optimally, is an hour out of town. And she said, no, we're going anyways. You gave me 3 days. I'm leaving. And I go, no, you don't need to go. There's nothing for you to go there for. Please come back. And she didn't come back. She came back 3 days later, and I had to go pick up Jordan at her house.
How would you characterize your present relationship with the defendant?
Well, I try. I try to be cordial. I try to be a core parent. I try to communicate with her. I've numerous times offered that she could see the kids more than she does. Just let me know. I get ignored.
Is there conflict in your relationship at the present time?
Oh, yeah.
What do you believe to be the cause of the conflict?
Her, exclusively. I try to text. I gave up texting her to ask. I did text her yesterday morning, or Saturday morning, asking her. Jordan has a girlfriend that lives really close to where she's living, and let her know that Jordan was there. I said, when do you want to pick up the boys? Also, we both have court Monday morning. Do you want me to pick them up Sunday night? Do you want me to have them go to Lexi's, which is the girlfriend that lives near Elena? And I got no response. Then the daughter texts me and says, Mom wants to know when to pick up the kids. This is like 3 hours later. And I go, well, the boys are ready whenever Mom wants to come. Half hour later, Jordan texts me, Mom's on her way. I told the boys Mom's on her way. Luke normally communicates with her, but Luke dropped his phone in the swimming pool and doesn't have a phone presently right now.
Does the defendant cooperate with you in trying to do what's best for the children?
No.
And you give some examples where she's failed to do
When I
that?
first got Jordan back in August, custody of her, and trying to facilitate me taking the lead versus her taking the lead with her dance, with her agent, with the supporting documentation that needed to be done so that she could go on auditions in California, she would not cooperate with me at all. All she would text me is, good luck trying to be me. You have no idea what you're doing. There's a Coogan checking account, which you're required to open for all child actors, where 15% of their pay goes into that account. I asked her for that account number. She would not supply that. She actually embarrassed us she was on a set filming a Barbie commercial, and they wanted to know the Coogan account, and I couldn't provide it. I asked her agent to get it for me, and she instructed our agent, do not cooperate with him. He has no business being there. I eventually got the Coogan account indirectly through the producer of the Barbie commercial. He gave me a copy of it. And I've used that since to supply the documentation on her jobs when she goes on set. Her agent wanted a common email where agents could just email one email address and not have one for Mom, one for Dad, one for her. They just wanted one email address, and Jordan had Jordan Berlin 777. I asked her for the password of that so that we could share that email with the daughter's agent so we both know what's going on. She said, absolutely not, F you, you don't need that. So I had to create a new email, Jordan Berlin USA, that the agents now use for Jordan. I gave her the password so she can have access to it and see what's going on.
What about medical care? Has there been any cooperation in getting children medical care?
Well, I've paid for their medical care through Obamacare for the last, we've always had health insurance. And Elena is presently covered with health insurance. I gave her a health card in January, and explained it all to her in an email or a text saying, here's our new health card, it's an HMO plan, you have to go to certain doctors, that's all that's allowed in Nevada is HMOs, we have to go to doctors on the list. And she goes, great, because I have a bunch of doctors I need to go to, and I thought, okay, great, there you go.
I'm talking about the children, though. Have the children needed any care that required cooperation?
When I was in San Diego with the two boys, they were both in a football tournament, flag football tournament, that I was the coach of. While we were there, she called me and said, Jordan has an ear infection, I need to take her to the doctor. Where's my insurance card? And
When was this?
This was, I want to say May or maybe April of this year. It might have been later. It might have been June. It wasn't that long ago. I think it was June. I told her, I gave her the card, that it's with Health Plan of Nevada, and that CVS Pharmacy has us on record for the prescription. That you could go to any CVS, they'll just pull it up. She commenced berating me, saying I was lying. And I guess ended up taking her to a Quick Care, which was a $55 copay, and called me while she was there saying, you need to pay this. I'm here now. I have no money. And I'm like, Elena, I'm on a football field, coaching football. I have no way of paying. But she called me a few more times and texted me some bad stuff, and I guess she ended up getting the prescription. Then after she gets the prescription, she goes to CVS and calls me and says, hey, you need to pay for this prescription, or tell me what insurance is. And I said, I told you, CVS should have it on record. I'm in San Diego. I don't have the insurance stuff with me. I have no way of helping you. I'm sorry. So that passed. The kids went over, and she took them all to that water park in Henderson, something Bay. There's a big water park in Henderson, and when you have an ear infection, you should never go in the water. She knows that, but she took Jordan into the water. A few days later, when she was back in my care, her ear started to hurt again. I texted Mom, hey, what Quick Care did you take her to? Can you send me a copy of her prescription so I can get it refilled? And she would not do either of those things. All she texted me back was, you need to pay me $55. And I'm going, Elena, okay, let's not worry about that right now. I need to get her prescription refilled. Her ears hurt. And again, I got either ignored or another text saying, you need to reimburse me the $55 and the $25 for the thing, the prescription. And this went on for about 6 hours, and then I just ended up taking Jordan to Quick Care again and getting another prescription, and since got her ear infection cleared up. But that was just an example of her needs above Jordan's needs. It didn't matter Jordan had an ear infection. All that mattered was he wanted $55.
What financial support has she provided the children since you had custody of them in August?
Other than feeding them when they're at her house, zero.
Do you want the court to impose a child support obligation on her if you were granted custody?
Yes.
Do you feel it would benefit the children to do
Yes. I mean, I'm struggling financially.
How is the state of your health at the present time? Any health issues that would impact your ability to care for the children?
No.
Do you have any concerns about Elena's health that would impact her ability to care for the children?
Like physical health or mental health?
Either one.
Well, mental health, yes. Physical health, I don't know. I haven't been with her for a year and a half. I know she has. She's been taking different medications. She's had infections of her vagina. She's had things down there that she probably doesn't want me to mention, but I don't know her physical health right now.
Were you surprised that defendant's testimony, she's only seen the therapist twice since
Yes.
court ordered that last
Yeah, if
May
I was
4th?
her, I'd be going once a day.
Has Elena ever been physically abusive to the children?
Yes.
And you tell the court those times that you recall that occurred. Tell us when they occurred and what occurred.
The time I mentioned she physically was restraining Johnny for, God, it felt like 10 minutes, and the poor kid was crying, and she would not let him go. I wanted to step in, but I was torn because I knew if I stepped in, it would get uglier, and then the police would arrest me, and he had a game coming up, and all the parents were watching. It was very embarrassing. And the guy running the whole league actually came up with other parents and begged her to let him go and said, hey, let me take Johnny unless then you guys can talk. And she finally agreed to that. And once we got Johnny out of her possession, she took off just before the police showed up.
Any other examples of physical abuse of the children?
Yes, I've seen her slap Jordan while she's homeschooling her at least twice.
Do you recall when that was? Those occasions?
Last year, both times. 2016.
How did Jordan react when her mom slapped her?
Cried.
Do you recall what was going on preceding that may have motivated the slap?
I think she just has a short temper now, and she gets upset if someone doesn't completely do what she says, or gets frustrated if it's not going well.
Has she been verbally abusive to the children?
Yes, all the time.
And you,
Especially Mikey, the older son.
what about the three that are at issue today? Can you give the court some examples of times mom's been verbally abusive? Again,
Well, I didn't
given
see
the court,
this, but again,
asking for what you know.
yeah, I mean, the kids have told me stuff, but then that would be hearsay, I guess. But
I'm just asking for what you've observed.
no, like mainly hitting Jordan, grabbing Johnny that one day. But Johnny's told me a couple things that happened.
Have you had occasion to seek a temporary protective order against your wife?
Yes.
When did you do that?
February 15th, 2016. I remember it well because it's the day after Valentine's Day.
What occurred at that time that led you to seek a TPO?
I was coaching the kids football at Desert Breeze Park. It's a park very close to the house. She was at the house with Jordan. For some reason, she was being nice. I invited her and Jordan and me and the two boys to go to dinner. She agreed. When we got home, it was a different kind of vibe. She didn't want to go. And I noticed my racquetball racket was missing. I asked her if she knew about it. She goes, yeah, you don't need it. Anyways, I have it. And I go, well, it's not your racket. It's so silly. It's a stupid racket. But anyways, so I'm getting into the car, and she sucker punches me as hard as she could. I can't believe I bled that much, but I was bleeding. And then she just went into, like, psycho mode. She had my daughter start filming me, telling Jordan, please film me, Daddy's gotten crazy, he's going to hurt me, film me. And, I mean, it's comical now, but it was like, man.
So Jordan was present when this occurred?
All the kids were. Luke actually saw her hit me, but he won't admit it because it was too traumatizing. I saw Luke standing in the garage while I got hit. Jordan's filming it while we're back into the house. I'm bleeding all over the place. I asked her to leave. She wouldn't leave.
Did you call the police?
Yeah, so eventually I called the police. She left again just in the nick of time. The police showed up. They advised me to go get a TPO and change the locks on the door. And I go, well, doesn't she have a right to be here? And he's like, did she change her mailing address? And I said, yes, she's changed her address. She actually asked to be off the lease, which I removed her from the lease, so she wouldn't be liable for any rent. So the next day I went down and filed a TPO, and I got the locks changed that night.
Now, your mother testified to some calls of the police out to your house. Have the children been present for those times that your mother testified to?
Yeah, pretty much. They've been there every time the police have been called.
What effect do you perceive that having on the children when the police come out?
Well, that's very difficult for them to understand. I mean, they're torn.
Do you have an understanding of why she called the police on those
No
occasions
idea.
that your
She
mother...
showed up on a Wednesday. I was taking Jordan, our daughter, to L.A. My brother was coming over to stay with the two boys, and she shows up around 3:30 after school, demanding the kids, and calls the police. And the only time she's by court order to see him is on a Sunday. So I have no idea why she was there on Wednesday to grab the kids. The police showed up. They eventually asked her to leave. She left. She also called the police on that Saturday night. My mother referenced. Again, no idea why. It was 8 at night. She shows up wanting the kids with the police there.
How did she appear to you on that Saturday night?
I don't think I came downstairs. I just said call the police and lock the door. I don't recall even. I didn't want to see her.
Now, are you able to provide for the children's needs, whether they be
Yes.
physical, emotional, or developmental?
Yeah. The Jordan's like night and day from a year ago.
What type of things do you do for the children now that they are in your primary custody?
I feed them. When they're in school, I make their lunch. I take them to school. I pick them up from school. I go to their parent-teacher conferences. I do things with them, take them to trampoline parks, movies.
You work on their studies?
Yes, I homeschool my daughter. I make my kids do their homework. I actually have a fun spelling drill I do with Johnny, the youngest. We throw a football while I quiz him on his spelling words. And he's gotten almost an A on every spelling test.
And you work from home?
Yes.
Is that assisting in being able to do all that?
Yes.
When do you get time to do work?
Whenever I can. Usually either very early in the morning or late at night. And it's harm to business. She's harm to business.
How are the kids doing school-wise?
They're doing. Johnny did really well. He got all A's and B's. Luke, I think this divorce has affected him the most. He hasn't done as well in school as he could, but I cut him some slack. You know, he got C's and B's. Jordan, it's been more difficult because she went from, in my opinion, completely brainwashed to a great child now. And it was tough for her to focus on homeschooling with mom texting her and calling her all the time. So she got all C's, and I think she got an F in English.
How was she doing that period from January until she came back in your care, while under her mom's care? How was she doing academically then?
She had to go to summer school, and I'm sure it wasn't fun for her having mom as a tutor. Although she'll defend her mom, at least she used to. I don't know if she still would, but that's her mom.
Are the children provided health insurance?
Yes.
Do you provide that?
Yes. And Elena's.
And you are the only one at this time financially supporting the children?
Yes.
Have there arisen any recent difficulties in trying to work and provide for the kids?
Yes.
Did you tell the court when that occurred?
A few times. I have, over the last year and a half, tried to help her. I've offered to pay her for designs. Usually she'll say okay, and then either doesn't do them, ignores me, or says pay me. So I'm not a designer. I can do everything else with the sign business. I'm an accountant. I'm a salesperson. I can run a business. I've run one for 30 years, but I'm not a designer. I'm not creative in that way. So that was difficult to go from having no designer to continue to sustain an income to support us with no designs, and she would not help. She also, although I offered, let's just stay in business, you want a divorce, that's fine, go do whatever you need to do in life, but let's continue to operate the business, and we can decide, you know, I tried to be reasonable. But she closed the account, drained $2,000 out of it in February of 2016.
Your mother would have some say in that, would she not?
Well, now, because that was in her name, that business, Signs West Outdoor LLC. So I had my mom offered to form a company, Signs West Las Vegas, and we had to open that checking account, and I had to start a whole new business.
When was that?
February of 2016. Shortly thereafter, I mistakenly would allow her into my house, stupidly now, but, you know, I was trusting. But then she stole checks, signed checks that my mom would leave so I could pay suppliers as needed. She stole those checks. She admitted to stealing those checks, told me it's community property, that's half my company. And I'm like, no, that's not your company anymore, it's my mom's. But anyways, so we had to close that account, open up a new checking account, you know, which takes time and energy for no reason.
Does the business have an email?
Yes.
And have you been able to use the email?
About a month ago, somehow, I don't know if she broke into my house, crawled through the doggy door, but somehow I no longer had access to my Gmail, business Gmail, signswestoutdoor@gmail, which is my emails for business for the last 6 years. All, you know, recent emails, clients might email me a year later. I would have saved emails, as you can, like, put them in different buckets, if you will, of different types of clients, real estate or whatever have you, and she will not return it. I offered her $500 cash to return it to me because I know she says she needs money. I don't believe she does, but she says she needs money. She wouldn't do that either. And she has no use for that email address other than to harm me intentionally. And I told her, you're hurting your kids' source of income because that's what pays the bills. And that didn't matter to her. Then she stole checks again. About 2 months later, a whole booklet of checks, which I suspect my daughter stole them for her. This was back in middle of 2016 again. And again, we had to close the account and open another account. And the bank's like going, you guys.
What is your arrangement with your mother as far as compensation for the services you provide the company?
Well, it generally generates $5,000 a month in income, and I am paid whatever it makes.
Did Elena's spending cause any problems as the business began to struggle?
Yeah, I mean, she was obsessed with Jordan. Jordan had to have private dance lessons, acting lessons, circ lessons, trapeze lessons, silk lessons, attend dance studios. And I kept telling her, you know, we can't keep doing this. We're not making what we used to make. And somehow I would pull it off and get everything paid, but it was very difficult and stressful on me.
Did you make available, as the court directed, ITEX funds for defendant to have
Yes.
counsel?
Yes.
And when did you do that?
Well, she's had access to ITEX since we were married.
Can you look at Exhibit 6? Tell us if you can identify that.
Yeah, that's an ITEX statement from end of May 2017, and then a history of ITEX transactions from August 16 to, I'm assuming, May of 17.
And how were these records generated?
I printed them off the online iTex website of our
And
account.
have you reviewed the records that are attached as Exhibit 6?
Yes,
Are they accurate?
yes.
Move for admission of Exhibit 6, Your Honor.
Admitted.
I object. Those documents are fraudulent and haven't been authenticated.
Okay. I'm going to take a look at them.
I believe he just authenticated them.
That doesn't count as authentication, him saying that they're true.
So you retrieved, I'm looking at dates number 37 through 48,
Yes, Your Honor.
and did you retrieve those records?
Yes. The handwriting is mine, but the printed writing is from the online website of our account.
Your Honor, but I've seen the printed statements, and that's not what they look like. They all have a letterhead. What he did was he copied and pasted it, so that way he could manipulate it.
You did testify to all the charges on here that you did spend.
No, I testified to some of the charges that were mentioned.
We provided these
What wasn't mentioned were all the charges that you have made on our
on
community.
June 6th. He's never filed any objection to their authenticity.
Objection, Your Honor. I did file an objection to the authenticity. As a matter of fact, I did. I have this right here motion I filed, this motion to continue, and this ORO motion, and it right in here, I do object to it. So that
Nope.
is not true.
No timely objection, Your Honor.
Yes, it was timely. As a matter of fact, I filed these papers before opposing counsel filed his. He's the one that missed the deadline, not me.
These were produced, you said,
June 6th is the 16.2.
Also, I would like noted on the record that the opposing counsel filed their 16.2 disclosures 11 months or so after they were supposed to, according to the law. So if we're going to talk about not meeting deadlines, that one should definitely be mentioned.
And
where's your
we-
16.2 disclosure?
I have it right here. I filed it with this oral motion along with my list of exhibits that I brought
Filed it
here with
when?
me today.
You filed it when?
I filed it on 7/12/2017. It also has all the
Is that
exhibits I
timely?
wanted to enter today that I
that
have
timely?
with me. Yes?
7/12/2017, is that timely?
Yes, it was timely.
How is it timely?
Well, when I looked up the rules, it was in time to what it had said, to what was
But his aren't timely, and he submitted them before you did.
No,
his aren't
I
timely, but yours are
actually,
timely.
Mine were submitted before his.
They're dated
Oh, my
after.
16.2s, is that what you're talking about? I wasn't aware that I had to specifically do 16.2s, but either was opposing counsel. They still have not done it. They still have not done it completely. They still have
Did you
never.
file a
to this-
motion with the Discovery
To
Commissioner?
this day, they've never filed a detailed FDF.
Did you file a motion with the Discovery
Yes, I did.
Commissioner?
It's right here in my
Are you
oral.
listening to my words?
Mm-hmm.
Did you file a motion with the Discovery Commissioner?
No, I don't even know anything about what a discovery commissioner is for. By the time these were all filed, and by the time I knew how to even look on the court docket, by the time I realized I was going to be forced to be pro se, and I figured out how to even look things up on the court docket, you had already closed discovery, and I didn't have an option at that point.
Your Honor, we were here on May 4th.
You
The court
discovered-
directed both
discovery
parties
was
to
closed around
file
May.
16.2. We did on June 6th, and not receiving anything from the defendant, I did send her a letter June 9 telling her that she needed to comply with 16.2 and laid out the typical documents that we would
I
request.
object, Your Honor.
And we've still not received any
I object, Your
16.2.
Honor. The letter that he wrote to me was a very, actually, I would love to have that letter read because it's very disrespectful, and it accused me of doing several things that had not been done. And I did everything I could to file correctly. Not only did I do that, but I also emailed a copy to Mr. Urick as well. to make sure that I covered all of my bases.
I'm happy to show the court the letter if the court's interested.
And I would love to have that letter read, because in that letter he accuses me of not of this being a repetitive thing that I haven't done, and I had everything that the court has suggested for me to do. I have done. There's nothing that I have not done.
For what purpose are you offering Exhibit 6?
Just to show that the ITEX funds, their use, and that she has had the ability to use them for attorney's fees. And she's already conceded use them for other means.
She did concede to using some for her medical. Are those on these statements?
Yes. And I don't know that we would concede that they're medical. She said Botox September 28, 2016. That's on page 38.
Right.
There's
Honor,
a
I also-
Harmony Salon and Spa, $65, and then there's a $2,200 spa charge. Contact lenses, colored contact
Objection,
lenses.
that
Right.
wasn't me. That was my daughter. And John had taken her there. And I would also like noted that every time I did make one of those charges, Mr. Urich had approved it, because David Heller, the representative from ITEX, was called every time, and I have evidence in emails of those calls and proof that that happened.
Mr. Anderson, where does it say on here who is the person using the funds or that particular transaction?
It doesn't.
I'm not sure that it
Doesn't.
does, Your Honor.
It's just a list of transactions, doesn't say who initiated them.
All right. Then I'm not going to admit it. Number 6.
Is there,
Oh, 6. Thank you. I did have 6 down.
as we may proceed, Your Honor, are we
Go
ready?
ahead, yes.
As we sit here today, is there any property to be divided between you and the defendant that you're aware of?
No, we both have our cars in our possession. She's had a year and a half to take whatever she wanted out of the house. She's gotten all of her clothes out of there. She's taken anything that she could hawk of value, including a $2,000 full-length leather jacket that I owned that she stole. She stole a $2,500 video arcade game. She stole all the power tools. And everything else is either the kitchen table, it's all old furniture, the kids' stuff, or computers. She did want a heavy credenza, which she's more than welcome to have. It's very heavy. She knows what I'm talking about.
And as part of your compliance with 16.2, did you prepare the document attached as Exhibit 21?
Yes.
And is that an accurate inventory to your knowledge of the personal property that exists?
Yes, and my best guess at a value. I'm not an expert.
Move for admission of Exhibit 21, Your Honor.
When did you prepare this, sir?
Approximately 2 months ago.
It was part of our 16.1 production, Your Honor.
Okay, it's admitted.
And some of these property items are actually, would be fair to say they belong to the children.
Yes.
You mentioned a coat. Can you tell the court more about the coat?
I bought a full-length leather coat before we were married for $2,000 and a pair of leather pants. I wore it on our wedding day. And she took it out of my closet in my room under the guise not under the guise, but she called while I was with the kids at Sky Zone. And it felt like an odd call, like, hey, you guys still at Sky Zone? I said yes, and it just felt weird because she would never call to do that, so I'm assuming that's when she took it.
When was that?
Verifying I wasn't there, roughly early to mid-February of 2016.
Did you file a police report?
I tried, they wouldn't. They said it's community property. And I said, no, I owned it before the marriage. And they said, well, deal with it in a divorce.
So would it be your request that you each take the respective vehicles that you're driving?
Yes.
You know, I think the defendant testified to driving the Chevy Cruze. Do you know what year it is?
2014.
And what do you drive?
The 2016 Nissan Frontier.
And is there any real property to be divided?
No.
Do you have any interest in any business that could be divided at this time?
No.
You could review Exhibit 9. You prepared a financial affidavit in May of this year,
Yes.
and at page 76 of that exhibit, did you give your estimates as to the net equity that are in the respective vehicles?
Yes.
And you indicated $3,000 for each?
Yes.
You mentioned in there some furniture and computers. What does that relate to?
There's a sofa, an ottoman, approximately 4 or 5 years old. There's a picnic table, kitchen table.
Are they reflected in Exhibit 21 as well?
They should be.
If you look at Exhibit 21, what items from there would you like to receive?
Everything but the heavy desk credenza, which is item 3, if you go in order top to bottom.
What about the laptop 1 and 2?
Yes, those are in her possession. Sorry, yeah.
You-
She already
you-
has those, that's fine. Yeah, she can have those. If she wants them, she has them.
What about the Cocktail Arcade Legends video game?
Yep, she already has that. Took it.
As far as debts, is there any debts to be divided between the two of you at this time?
I mean, there was a couple charge cards, a Target, a Kohl's, but I have been paying on those for a year, paid them down, she charged them back up, that I don't know the law, but there's those two. I think the Target 700 max is the limit on it, I don't know what it is today. And the Kohl's, I think, was 1,000. I don't know what it's at today. I estimated it back here, but I don't have access to those anymore. She changed the passwords. There was a credit card used to buy this laptop from Apple. I think it was $2,500. I was paying on that, but the passwords and everything's been changed. I'm assuming she's either making payments on them or blew them off.
What is Exhibit 17? Can you review that and tell us, if you know?
That's my personal Capital One account in my name, I guess. It's jointly then if it's community property, because the other credit cards I aforementioned are all in her name.
What would be your proposal for
I take the Capital
allocation of
One
the
and she
debts?
takes the other 3.
Would that be equitable?
In my eyes, she has the asset, the laptop that cost $3,000 from Apple. The credit card going with that's $2,500. The Target and Kohl's, don't know what she's charged after I was paying them down. I would assume all for her. That would seem fair to me.
What is Exhibit 15?
That's a life insurance policy for $1 million on me.
Does it have any cash value?
No, it's a term policy.
And how long have you had that policy?
It's 2006.
Who's the beneficiary
Presently,
presently?
it's divided equally among my parents and my 2 brothers, and they have been instructed to use that money to pay for the kids.
Is it true that since your marriage to the defendant, your likes, tastes, and interests have grown apart?
Somewhat, I guess, yeah. I mean, we still do like the same things, but we don't share
Not
it
together?
No.
And is it true that your differences have caused you to physically separate and no longer live together?
Yes.
Are you incompatible in marriage with one another?
No.
Incompatible?
Yes.
And is there any chance that you two can reconcile?
No.
Is it your request that the court grant you a decree of divorce?
Yes.
Who's Lennon Bond?
That's a Facebook page of hers with all men. It appears to be some type of a John quotes friends list.
You offered a printout from that today. How did you get that?
A friend of mine called me on the phone and told me about it.
When did you learn of it?
3 months ago, maybe.
And were you able to pull that off online?
Yeah, I could go right onto her Facebook page. I can't see nothing other than the friends and her picture.
Does that identity create any concerns about the children?
Yes, greatly.
Why?
Because that's her priority. Men, attention, money, money, and money. But she would leave the kids in a heartbeat if one of those people called and said, hey, I have some money, come see me. Actually did that one, I could tell you a story.
Is there anything else you think the court should know in coming to the decisions it has to make here today?
Yeah, regarding the COPE class, I found that extremely helpful. And I hope she did take it. I hope she listened and paid attention. I don't know if she really took it. But in that class, it said you should wait at least a year before introducing children to new lovers. She waited 10 minutes, and she has had multiple lovers within the last year and a half.
Objection.
What is your objection? What is your
My
objection?
objection is that he's assuming things again and lying.
Do you have,
Well,
And also, this is a no-fault state, so
do you have personal knowledge?
yes, very.
what is your personal knowledge?
In March, approximately St. Patrick's Day of 2016, I was invited to attend my daughter's viewing party for an episode of Dance Moms. That was approximately, 2.5 months from us separating. At that time, she invited her current live-in boyfriend, Jason Lopez, the attorney she aforementioned that paid for her breast implants. After I was refunded the money because they didn't want to deal with her, he was invited to that and had planned to take all the kids to his house afterwards. I objected. Firmly, and she started swinging at me. So that's a guy I know she was living with. He actually posted on Facebook they were getting married. And my daughter was calling his son her new brother. She had no problems with any of that. Then I know firsthand of a poker player named Brandon, I think his last name's Gerson, that she has been dating prior and still does while she's living with Gilby, but none of these are boyfriends, close quotes, because she doesn't like to label them as that. They're just all Johns, in my opinion. And she borrowed money from him. He bought my daughter clothes.
Your Honor, are these false allegations that are allowed to keep continuing with absolutely no evidence?
What is your personal knowledge about this?
My daughter told me
I mean,
that
how
he bought
many
her clothes.
I mean, how far is this going to go on with no evidence at all?
I don't think my daughter would lie.
That's a lie right there.
You think Jordan would lie?
I'll move on, yeah.
Back to the co-class. So she's been with a man ever since she left the family. That isn't good. That really confuses the children. She uses the children to communicate with me versus communicating with me directly, another part of the co-class that she continues to do, and ignores my texts and forces the kids to be the go-between between us. She creates conflicts between us with the children present, another thing it says not to do. And she shows up late every Sunday, never at 9 a.m., which tells the kids they're not important enough to her to show up on time. And you had actually instructed me, if he doesn't show up by 9 a.m., go about my day. But I don't, because the kids, say they want to see their mom, so I let her show up late every Sunday.
What would you like the schedule to be at this time?
I worry every time the kids are with her. I don't know if she's doing more harm than good. She tells them things that she told my daughter, that Dad threw me out of the house, Dad wouldn't give me any money, Dad beats me, and blames everything that's happening right now on me, the courts, her so-called friends, all the people that are jealous of her. Nothing's her fault.
Do you have a schedule now for holidays or special occasions?
No schedule. She had them July 4th. The kids wanted to go over there July 4th because she said she was having a big July 4th party, and it turned out to be no one there, a few people. And there would be other kids there. So she ignored my text, so I had to believe the kids, and I let them go. Nothing bad happened as far as I know, but there was no big party. There were no other kids there. It was just them. And the girl up the street, that's a friend of my daughter's, as far as what the kids told me afterwards. If I had my choice, I would have full custody, both physical and legal. The kids we're a family now. They live at home. Having every Sunday with her, interrupts a weekend for me. There's times the kids have football games, and she turns it into a big conflict. She knows they play football.
Would you like an occasional weekend with the kids?
Yeah, I would prefer she gets them one weekend a month, and then I've always told her she can see them whenever she wants, just not overnight. But she never takes me up on that.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.